At the funeral, a young girl took just one bite of kimchi. Then, out of nowhere, she collapsed to the floor, convulsing and foaming at the mouth. Luckily, one of the mourners happened to be a doctor. He rushed over, scooped the girl up, and immediately performed the Heimlich maneuver. She finally coughed up the blockage in her throat, but to everyone's horror, it wasn't kimchi. It was a massive clump of hair. The deceased at this funeral, Somi, had died under mysterious, possibly supernatural circumstances, and anyone who came to her funeral seemed to be haunted by strange, unexplainable events. After her body was placed in the morgue freezer, one of the funeral home's staff members also experienced something terrifying. He approached to slide her back into the storage unit, but the lights suddenly began to flicker erratically. No one dared to stay behind for the night shift. No one, except for Somi's father. A month earlier, her father, Seung-do, a skilled surgeon, had desperately tried to save his daughter, who suffered from a heart condition. He used his authority at the hospital to secretly give her a heart transplant, a heart from an unknown source. The surgery was a success, but Somi was never the same again. She became violent, so much so she nearly killed Seung-do's wife. Convinced something evil had latched onto his daughter, Seung-do turned to Hai-sin, a priest at the local church, to perform an exorcism, but the ritual failed. And not long after, Somi died in her bed. Heartbroken, Seung-do couldn't bear to cremate her right away, so he postponed the funeral for 3 days, but from the very first day, terrifying things began to happen. Somi's classmate nearly choked to death on a mouthful of hair. One of the staff members at the funeral home swore he saw her body move, as if Somi had crawled out of the freezer herself. That night, while Seung-do kept vigil by her side, a cold wind swept through the room, and in that moment, he saw her.
아빠.
Was it just a dream? Seung-do wasn't sure, but when he put on his glasses, he noticed a crack in the lens, just like in the dream. He rushed to the floor where his daughter had appeared. There, he found footprints. It wasn't a dream. His daughter had come to him. Somi had always hated the cold. Earlier that day, Seung-do had told the staff not to put her back in the freezer, but they ignored him. Furious, Seung-do kicked the guards out of the room. He wanted to stay with his daughter himself. No one noticed that Somi's eyes had opened. The second day of the funeral arrived. It was the day she would be presented in the viewing hall. The mortician carefully prepared her body, making sure everything was in order before the family came in to say their goodbyes. The room quickly filled with sobs and sorrow. But Seung-do didn't go in. He didn't cry. He couldn't bring himself to face her. Then he heard it, his daughter calling out to him. Her eyes opened, just for a split second, but Seung-do saw it. In that moment, he was sure his daughter wasn't completely gone. If he started resuscitation now, maybe, just maybe, she could come back. He shouted her name, desperately trying to save her. The rest of the family looked on, disturbed. They thought Seung-do had lost his mind, but then he saw something else. Tears at the corner of Somi's eyes. That was the proof he needed. He was right. Even when the funeral staff explained that this was a normal phenomenon in corpses, Seung-do didn't listen. Not one word. Eventually, they had no choice but to drag him out of the room, bringing an end to the chaos. Meanwhile, the priest who once tried to exorcise Somi was now standing guard outside the funeral home. He had gone through countless texts and records and finally understood why the exorcism had failed. He had underestimated the situation. What possessed Seung-do's daughter wasn't a ghost. It was a vicious, bloodthirsty demon. This demon could resurrect itself through a human body. And by leaving his daughter's corpse uncremated for 3 days, Seung-do had given it the perfect opportunity to awaken. Now, it was already the second day. If they didn't cremate the body by tomorrow, the demon would fully rise through Somi's body, and it would begin its slaughter with Seung-do and his family. A moth suddenly flew out of Somi's mouth, and more began to appear, swarming the funeral hall. Sensing something was deeply wrong, the priest gathered his followers and began to pray. But he didn't know what was happening outside. Right then, Somi's father was furiously shouting. Sung-do refused to believe his daughter was truly gone. Ignoring everyone's pleas, he forcibly took Somi's body from the viewing room. As a doctor, Sung-do had seen her eyes open with his own eyes. He was certain she wasn't dead, just in a deep coma. So he brought her to the operating room and began resuscitation with a defibrillator. But every time he shocked her heart, the praying priest suffered a blow to the head. Because Somi's body was no longer hers, it belonged to the demon now. Instead of saving her, Sung-do was helping the demon awaken faster. The priest was pulled into a terrifying illusion. In it, the demon grinned at him with pure malice. Thankfully, funeral home staff intervened just in time, pulling the priest away from Somi's body and rushing him to the hospital. On the way, Hai-sin, the same man who had attempted the exorcism before, arrived and quickly asked what had happened. As soon as he heard the details, Hai-sin understood the truth. He raced into the building, splashed holy water on Somi's body just in time for Sung-do to arrive and see his daughter's body begin to change. From her chest, the spot where the heart had been transplanted, black veins started spreading across her skin. That heart was the source of everything. If the demon fully possessed this body, no one in Sung-do's family would survive. Hai-sin urged him to cremate Somi immediately, but Sung-do still couldn't let go. He held on to the hope that his daughter might still come back, but Hai-sin's words gave him a clue. The heart transplant had been shady from the start. It was arranged by a colleague, taken from a living person. Sung-do decided to investigate where it came from. Using the address his colleague gave him, he followed the lead only to fall right into a trap. The woman who had arranged the transplant was no ordinary person. She was a servant of the demon. If Sung-do died, Somi's soul would vanish, and the demon would fully take over her body. But just when things looked hopeless, Hai-sin arrived. He chanted an incantation, subduing the woman, and forced her to reveal the demon's name. Knowing the demon's name was key to casting it out. Its name was Igmari, and the moment Hai-sin heard it, he froze. Years ago, he himself had been possessed by Igmari. The priest who saved him had sacrificed his life to do so. Now Igmari had returned, but this time Hai-sin wouldn't run. He would destroy the demon, no matter the cost. Suddenly, the coffin holding Somi's body grew impossibly heavy. 6 grown men couldn't lift it. That's because they couldn't see what Sung-do could. The demon was standing on top of the coffin. Only he could see it. To everyone else, he looked like a madman. Determined to save Somi, Sung-do grabbed a fire extinguisher and smashed open the coffin lid. He gently lifted his daughter in his arms, trying to carry her away from the cursed place. But Hai-sin blocked his way. He couldn't let Somi leave because the demon Igmari was still inside her. Hai-sin covered Somi's eyes and began to recite an exorcism spell. But Sung-do thought the priest was harming his daughter, and in a rage, he grabbed the broken coffin board and struck Hai-sin with it. Right then, Somi's body began to float. It was the final sign. The demon and her body were becoming one. The demon was calling her, preparing to fully claim her body. There was no time left. Hai-sin resumed the exorcism spell. This time, Sung-do didn't stop him. He watched in silence as his daughter's body dropped from the air, and he rushed to catch her, but there was nothing in his arms. She had vanished. Panicked, Sung-do ran back into the funeral home to search. He remembered a conversation from long ago when Somi had asked what to do if she ever got lost. He had told her, "Just stay where you are. I'll come find you." And in these past 3 days, he had felt her presence more than once. He was sure his daughter's soul was still inside her body. If he could bring it back, the demon would lose its power. Driven by pure instinct, Sung-do pressed forward. At that moment, a father's love overcame the fear of evil. Calling out his daughter's name, he finally saw her and where she was being taken. He followed the trail until he reached a hidden room, and there she was, her body covered in moths, symbols of the demon's presence. But Hai-sin arrived just in time. He instructed Sung-do to chant the incantation with him. Together, their voices could banish the demon. As long as Sung-do didn't fall into the illusions the demon created, they had a chance. But then came the final blow. To save his daughter, Sung-do had to offer his own body. Without hesitation, he agreed. He traded himself for Somi. When the others arrived at the scene, Sung-do was gone. All that remained was Somi, breathing faintly on the floor. They rushed her to the hospital, unaware that Sung-do was now trapped on the brink of death. He knew that if the demon stayed in his body, his family would be next. So he made one final decision: to destroy himself. He leapt from the building, but the demon kept him alive, just barely. That's when Sungdo used his last secret weapon. He lit a match and set his body on fire. The moment Sungdo died, Somi woke up. She remembered everything, the darkness, the fear, the demon, but above all, she remembered her father and the love that never gave up on her. Even in the blackest night, a father's love became the light that saved her.